Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of the planet's hottest entertainment with an edge. Jaime En Fuego here, welcoming you to my namesake program, Enfuegotainment, another rapido review, and this is for the new film Run, directed by Anish Chigante, if I'm pronouncing that properly, and starring Kiera Allen, I believe it is, and Sarah Paulson. Sarah Paulson obviously having so many awesome accolades and esteem from her extensive work on American Horror Story. This year she was in Ratched, also from same dude behind that series, and yeah, she is in a league all her own. And Anish's previous film, Searching with John Cho, was one of my favorite films of that year. He's a former Google employee, and yeah, this is his follow-up, only his second feature, and I believe he wrote, directed, and produced this, and holy shit, man. This is one of the best films I've seen this year, without a doubt. And it's no secret that Stephen King tweeted about his affinity for this movie, and I'm just gonna flat out say it's because of the fact that it parallels Misery, his classic novel that was in turn adapted by Rob Reiner. And this doesn't mean necessarily full-on spoiling anything, because if you watch the trailer for this one, it was still supposed to be a theatrical release, just like I did with my peeps from the horror show. And maybe if we didn't have such a busy December ahead of us, this would be reviewed on the horror show, because it's got enough of that drama, but with a lot of thriller elements combined with it, that I think it could have been reviewed over there. But with Cecil about to have a child, and us already with a very, very busy plate, having just covered the Phoenix Film Festival and everything, and also the fact that Run, not going theatrical, it was bought by Hulu and just released this past weekend. We're midweek when I'm finally recording this, because we were, busy at that aforementioned festival. But man, nonetheless, this is one of the best films that I've seen this year, and it's really, Akira is great. She looks incredibly familiar. I can't remember any projects that I've seen her in previously, but Anish did such an interesting job with Searching, and the fact that all of it took place on a computer screen, so it was almost like that Unfriended sort of situation, but much more just full-on drama with thriller aspects, trying to find John Cho's lost daughter and everything. This one is more like straight-up narrative, so it's not like very tech-savvy like that previous one was, and he creates a lot of just tension and that same sort of the edge of your seat, just thrilled, and also almost claustrophobic and feeling trapped in a lot of ways, because as you see in the trailer, Paulson is this character who may or may not be just kind of keeping her disabled daughter under her thumb, and that she's a controlling maternal figure in this particular regard. I don't want to say the other M word that Catherine, when she was watching this with me, kept pointing out. But nonetheless, man, Kiera and Paulson, who basically are doing heavy lifting, they're the primary people in this movie. There's a scene or two of very minimal reaction with other people and interaction and stuff, but it's really, at the end of the day, it is those two ladies' movie, and they are so damn good. I had issues here and there with some of the believability of certain twists and developments that happen. A couple revelations are a little convenient, but they are very serving of that tension and that just, thrilling aspect of the narrative and stuff. And yeah, as I said, King is a fan of this because he can probably see some parallels, but it's not just complete rip-off. It's more so homage in a few aspects. Because especially in the third act, it does some things that really surprised me. One bit in particular where something is drank when there's a confrontation going on, and I was just like, Shiza! I was not expecting that, and as if not to wear the King influences on Anish's sleeve, even more so than just the influences that are just in the storytelling alone, there is a very amusing Easter egg where the daughter of Sarah Paulson, Kiera's character, Kiara, she calls and she's trying to get some directory assistance, and they're like, stay your, city and state as, like Derry, Maine, and you're like, ha, yeah. They're that evident about it. And so if you're gonna be that blatant with your Easter egg, then even if there are some significant similarities, it's totally forgivable in my regard. I host a weekly show on the horror show channel called Hail to Stephen King, where I've done nearly 250 episodes. This is legit in my top 20 of 2020. Cinematography, acting, as I said. Basically, story-wise, is that Akira's character has been trying to get into college. She's 17, she is about to cross over into adulthood, and Paulson seems very loving, but you can also tell that she is very much, like, leading every aspect of her daughter's life. And so she homeschools her. She has had her change numerous doctors in, the last X amount of years, and presumably throughout her lifetime. Also, she is in a support group that you see at the very beginning of the film, in the fact that Paulson is talking to other homeschool parents, but they all seem to be homeschool parents that have encountered trauma. And in Paulson's case, it's the fact that when she was having her daughter, which we see at the very beginning of the movie, she was born, drastically underweight with various health problems, presumably, and there was that uncertainty as to whether she was going to survive or not. And so that plays into the fact that when Akira's character is all grown up and, trying to get into the University of Washington, similarly enough, I believe Google is based in Washington State, like somewhere in Seattle, somewhere in the Northwest at least, to be specific, where there's so much of that like tech-savvy stuff going down, and with Anish formerly working presumably in that area, it kind of makes sense to have stuff set up there. But yeah, so she's trying to get into the University of Washington, and her mother is like, nope, no letters from the places you've applied to just yet. And so right off the bat, you kind of get to wondering, just like Kira's character, you're like, is there something amiss here? Is there something afoot? What is Paulson trying to hide from me? Is she trying to keep me at home? Does she not want me, despite the fact that she says at that meeting at the beginning of the movie with the other homeschool parents who've experienced trauma and are dealing with disabled children, that's why they're homeschooling them, presumably. Is she trying to just hold on, cling? Can she not imagine her life without caring for this child? And so that's the big thing is, how controlling is she? How far would she go, potentially? And also the whole mystery of all of that, too, is, the fact that the daughter is on a ton of different medications. Does she need all of them without going into too much of it? And also, what meds is Diane, the mother, potentially? It's either Claire or Chloe. Damn, I'm spacing it because I watched this last night. But, Paulson's daughter, basically, is she potentially taking some of her mother's meds, or is everything properly prescribed, especially with jumping between different doctors and things like that. So there is a lot of interesting mystery. Thrillers don't always entail mystery, and that's definitely one thing that Misery, to go back to King, did not necessarily have. It was pretty evident within the first less than 20 minutes of that movie. I just recently reviewed that for its 30th anniversary, that amazing Rob Reiner movie for the horror show. I think it's actually going live this weekend for the 30th anniversary, this being Thanksgiving weekend, the final weekend of November here in 2020. So if you're a subscriber over on the horror show, you can see my thoughts all about that movie. But whereas in Misery, it's pretty evident quite quickly what the score is. This definitely keeps you guessing as far as extent of affliction, mental illness, actual love in particular cases from both sides of these two women and stuff. There was some predictability to aspects of the third act, and I did turn to Catherine a couple times and I was like, I think this is gonna happen. And then that would happen. And I was like, I think this is gonna happen. So it's what's not gonna allow it probably to crack my top 10 of the year, but it is definitely in the upper echelon of the top 20 films, new films that I've watched this year. And I've watched almost 200 in the midst of this pandemic and quarantining and everything. I've watched nearly 200 new films that have just arrived this year. That's not even including everything else I've rewatched or stuff that was from a year or two that I had missed or whatever. So that's high praise to say that this is, close to cracking the top 10 of the best films of the year. And I mean, Paulson, it's kind of a shame in some regard that this didn't get a theatrical release, and then with that stupid chatter about canceling the Oscars that I totally disagree with. I think that it would be a disservice to films like this, to films like Spike Lee's Da 5 Bloods that were released to streaming based on circumstance. I think Da 5 Bloods spent a tiny bit of time in theaters, similar to Roma, another Netflix, awards kind of substantive stuff. But yeah, Paulson definitely deserves consideration in the Best Actress category in my estimation. This is a dynamite performance despite a retread of a few things and a little bit of predictability. It still throws enough curveballs that I recommend the hell out of this. It is exclusively streaming on Hulu right now. I think you can still sign up for a free trial of Hulu if you never have before. And if not, you can watch all the stuff there with ads like A Teacher, which is FX by way of Hulu that I've reviewed here. So much other cool stuff. Devs, I mean, yeah, you name it. Legion, which is also great. I mean, there's so much cool ass stuff that is on Hulu. And so I give Run, R-U-N, Anish, the director of, Searching with John Cho. His follow-up is pretty awesome. It does borderline that other F word of fantastic. I'm giving it 4 out of 5 fireballs. This is definitely hashtag certified fuego. And yes, I think if you have a lengthier Thanksgiving weekend and you're not going to be able to spend as much of it with family because of social distancing and just not being able to gather in as much of a large accord as you would like, check this film out. Paulson gives a, I'm not going to go as far as saying career-defining performance, but it is, excuse me, up there in her top tier of just excellence. So check it out, y'all. I've been Jaime En Fuego. You can find me on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, here on YouTube. And yes, like, a share, a subscribe, as I have mentioned before, it does indeed mean a hell of a lot. I do everything on here from geeking out with Star Wars and superhero coverage to lots of art house stuff. The aforementioned A Teacher, I reviewed the first 3 episodes of. I also did Soulmates, which is a limited series from AMC that was from some of the people behind Black Mirror. Various other stuff, the new Borat, subsequent movie film, stuff like that. So yeah, man, it's been an up and down year of coverage as far as just, you know, things to watch, and then the lack of the theatrical experience and some of the bummer aspects from that. But I do have some coverage coming from Phoenix Film Festival 2020 I'm looking forward to. If you like Spooktacular, I already mentioned it earlier, but youtube.com/The Horror Show channel. We do 1 episode there every day compared to over here on my personal small little side channel, where I do at least a couple videos a week. Over there, it's at least 1 a day, sometimes more. We are also this upcoming weekend about to film our just series retrospective and farewell to none other than Supernatural, which I did a reaction to of the final episode, and Cecil did as well over there, and we're crying our eyes out, and then WB-TV blocks us and nobody can check those things out. So maybe now that the tears have been processed and recried a few times, we can have a little bit more coherent palaver about all of that. But yeah, there's lots of stuff both on my channel here and over there to check out. I appreciate the hell out of y'all. A grande gracias, as I said earlier. And that's it for today, peeps. So until the Reel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, sin amigos. Constant viewers and readers alike, say thank you for a little bit of your time today. Hopefully we get to share more of it sooner rather than later. And until then, in this case, stay home and watch more streaming, because Run on Hulu is pretty impressive.